Hi, I'm Marco Lys again in my studio in Vittorio Veneto, and now we're gonna see the second track. The track we are gonna look at now is a new one. Is going to be released the end of January, so it's probably we just released now. Is on Eric Morillo's label Soundos. This one is using old school raving organ sound. You know, this one. Let me show you. You probably may recognize, you know, many records I've used, but you know, I love it, and I love the old school vibe it gives. So this is the, you know, the track. To do that, I used the new Cubase feature. Is the sampler one, is from version 9. You can drag and drop a sample inside the section just from the browser, and you can use it like, you know, as a sample. And you have many sections. You have the filter section. You can use, you know, the drive section to make it dirtier. Okay, so this time I haven't used the filter because I used another plugin outside the sampler. But I've used the envelope section. That is cool because you can sculpture the sound. You know, I gave a very fast attack and you know, quite slow release. Fast release to give it more bite, the sound more bite. And this is how it sounds in solo. You know, to give more to make the sound dirtier, I use the Premix computer music plugin. You know, is a saturator basically, and an EQ. You know, just to clean the sound. You know, to take out the low hands and the high hands. Basically below 240 Hz and over 12K Hz. And you know, I used also this random auto pan, you know, to give the sound random pan to make it more alive in the track, you know. So. Okay, so how I did the drums. The drums, you know, are basically divided in three groups. Okay, so I have the kick and bass group, you know, to give the same, I can say the same effect. Like the low pass filter, high pass filter, sorry, and you know, to glue them together, you know, with the glue, to fit them well together, you know. So another group is for the drum, where you can listen to all the drums except the hi-hats. Here you can listen to the hi-hats because I've used this groove from this library. It's an old library I bought in 2009, but I'm still using because it sounds so fresh all the time. It has very good percussions. The good thing is that you know, what I all the time use on Cubase is the hit points function. So basically, you can, when you have a loop, you can chop it, you know, this function detects the hit points. You can cut the hit points, so basically you have, you know, all the slices, you know, the chops, and you can quantize with the same, you know, quantization I have on the project. Let me show you the difference. In this track I used a 50% swing. So this is how it would sound with straight 16th. This is how it sounds with the swing. You can listen, there's more, you know, the swing is going more jazzy, more cool. So when I use the swing, I give to all the parts the same swing, you know, to the hi-hats, to the groove, to the bass line, as well like the organ sound. Okay, so the other group I use is for hi-hats. So, okay, where I use the glue, just to glue the sounds together, you know. Another one to avoid any, you know, any extreme peak, you know. And the BX Solo, that is a plugin from Brainworks, and it's just to give, you know, to open the stereo image. You know, I do use an extreme value because otherwise it's too much. Okay, just the minimum setting to make it working, you know, good in mono as well. Because I put on the master, you know, this plugin is from Steinberg, is the stereo enhancer. I just use as a monitor, you know, to check the mono and stereo compatibility of the sound. So it sounds good. And even on the drums, I use the parallel compression group. This is the parallel compression group, how it sounds. Basically, it squashes the sound with a very, you know, high gain, so there's a little bit of distortion, but in a good way, of course. I turn the low ends down, and I mix the group to to the drum groups. Okay, so I mix the signal coming out from the parallel compression to the main drums. So this is the result. It makes the groove more in your face, you know. So giving more clarity to the hi-hats. Let's talk about how I made the drums using Groove Agent SE. You know, this is my drum kit because when I start a project, I have my, you know, my own settings. I start from a template, you know, on mine. So with already the bass channels, the groups, some effects, some VST instrument as well, like Groove Agent SE. I started using Groove Agent 1 from back in the days, from the previous versions. It's a really, really good plugins. Now you have, on the new version, you have a browser inside, so you can, you know, you can check the sounds. For example, like the kicks in real time. You can see how kick, you know, works in real time. And this is very, very useful, you know. Okay, so I used to give the sounds different outputs, you know, like the claps or the claves, the hi-hats, you know, out 2. So in the mixer you have, as you can see, this drum section, you know, you can give different EQs, like in the hi-hats, where I cut down the low frequencies. Yeah, for the drums I use the Groove Agent, as well as some samples, like you know, some eye opens I use as a sample, because sometimes I like to navigate on the, you know, the media browser, you know, finding some good sounds. So sometimes it's easier to drag and drop the samples into the project. And yeah, like the shakers as well. with the same, you know, swing, 50% swing. Okay. Then on the drum roll I did some automations, like volume automations. As well, I take some frequencies down. On the claps, for example, I gave some short delay, you know, as you can listen, compression, you know, to make the sound more upfront, and saturation with the premix, which is a really good plugin. So, and I played a little bit, you know, earlier in the grid, like -1 millisecond, just because, let me show you the difference. If you play in the grid, this is how it sounds. Sometimes it's just a few milliseconds, but it does matter, you know. -1, for example, I give -10, you know, maybe too much. -1 is good, okay. Then so as you can see, I gave some reverb to the eye opens. Show you. Just two different reverbs I used that are the Walhalla Room and Arts Acoustic, which is really good, you know, to give more space to the hi-hats. So now let's talk about the bass. The bass is basically doing the same riff as the organ sound. To do that, I used an old plugin, you know, but it's not working on Cubase 10, is a Trilogy. So it's a sine wave with a very fast attack, you know. It has a bite to the sound. It's very percussive bass sound. To work it very good with the kick, I gave it a sidechain. As you can see, okay. So because sometimes it's not easy to make the bass and the kick works well together, you know. So a sidechain is a good way to fit both, you know, to give the good space to each one. So when the kick punch, when the kick sounds, the bass has a lot less volume, you know. So in Cubase, to do that, you have to go on the kick, you know, and just select the channel you want to give the sidechain. In this case, is the bass audio. I already gave a hit here. Is the bass audio. You can adjust, you know, the level of the sidechain. I can show you here. The more level you give here, the more the sidechain works. You can see. I always put them at 0. I do prefer to set the threshold from the plugin. And of course, as I showed you before, the bass and the kick are going through a group where I used the glue, you know. And for the breakdowns, the filter, you know, so. Okay. So, as I told you before, all over the track there's this main instrument that is this old school organ sound. In some parts, like the breakdowns, I've also added some extra layers with other instruments. So, like, as you can listen here, there are the sound from Diva, you know, just a preset. I tweak it a little bit, and Spire is more percussive sound, you know, but they are sounding really good together with the organ, you know, leading to the drop. So all the synths, like the organ sound, let me put in loop so I can show you. All the synths are going through the same group, you know. I have basically two groups. I have a main stereo group for the synths and a sidechain group, you know. Because some synths are working better, you know, in the mix if you give a little bit of sidechain when you know, so there's more room for the other sounds. So to do that, I used to, you know, to make a group with a compressor doing sidechain. That is the Cubase compressor, you know. You can see it's working with a kick. Just a little bit, not that much, you know. Not like the old French house style compression, sidechain compression back in the days, you know, was very, very extreme. But, you know, just is like a tool, more like a tool. And yeah, so the advantage to have the group is to give the same, you know, same effect to the group of the synths. And yeah, like for the drums, for example. As you can listen here, there are some percussions as well as the claps and stuff, you know, but this one, okay, is a loop from a sample library. But what I always check when I put a groove on a track is that it must be in key, on the same key of the project. So the project is in G minor, and I use the very good tool from Cubase, the very audio, where you can see the notes that is playing, you know, any kind of source. It could be a drum or a vocal or a synth. So in this occasion, it was already on G minor key, so I didn't have to tune it. I only, you know, added a EQ to cut out the low hands, because it has a lot of low hands, and I use a filter because this is the original sound, you know, but I do prefer how it sounds filtered, you know, more cool. I love to use textures on the tracks to make the track more live. So on this one, I used two kind of textures. The first one is a kind of whistle, something random. I don't know what sound is it, but it's, you know, a whistle that you can listen. You know, it's something very subtle but working well. And the other one is, you know, this exotic bird. You know, I love how it sounds. You know, without too much clean, with it's something nearly rhythmic, you know. Okay. Another element is this beep. Okay. You can listen. as well as other effects, like this one is cool because it's a sound coming from Diva, which I gave a very, very long reverb, you know, as you can listen here, to make it like a very, very long. This is basically the dry sound. Dry with reverb, with some automation as well, as you can see. Something I love to use on my tracks are the strings, especially the straight high string is coming from my JV, Roland JV 1010, and basically I record in audio on the project, so now it's sounding the audio, but here I can have the MIDI as well. And on the audio, I add the TAL chorus, which is the same as Juno 106, which is really good and give more space to the sound. Yes, you can listen on the breakdown, where all the sounds are coming in. Automations as well. So another sound I've used on this project is a percussive sound from Diva that is doing. Let me remove the volume automation just to show you how it. Okay, so just to show the parameters I'm automated. So as you can listen, there are some movements to the sound, like the frequency. Let me show you. This is very extreme, you know, and an oscillator, you know. This is the final result. So now let's talk about the arrangement. The thing I want to say is that why this track is 124 BPM. Because I like it. No, just because I think now, you know, BPM are getting higher compared to a few years ago, where BPM went down till under 20, 21. Now are getting, you know, faster. I think this one is working well at under 24 because, you know, sometimes you can change the BPM, you know, just to see how it works faster. Or slower. Okay. I like it under 24. So the structure is quite, you know, basic tech house structure. As I can show you, starting, you know, with an intro, where you can see all the elements are, you know, aided through the, you know, through the track. So starting quite clean, then some crashes, now some tambourines coming in, you know, then another high open, right, another groove, you know, to build tension to the breakdown. So And here, this is the first breakdown, you know, where basically is something that leads to the main riff. And now the main riff is coming up. It's building up. Then, you know, a good structure is to build, you know, to build all the sounds, or nearly all the sounds, and then, you know, to lead everything to the main breakdown. So at this point, you know, there are other elements, and here the track goes down. So this is something that you can expect is going to break down, you know, with other elements that are not, you know, you can listen to it before this point, some claps, random claps, some effects, and blah blah blah. And now everything leading to the main breakdown where the percussion sounds are coming in. Vocal samples, the strings, this is the breakdown, you know, building up, making tension, you know, the people on the dance floor are expecting, you know, something is gonna happen. Drum roll. And then the section to, you know, the outro to mix the track to the other one. So the idea behind this track is coming from the main riff, the organ sound. I've used a few years ago on another track I didn't finish. But, you know, I was, you know, in the car listening to my old tracks. I was saying, oh, wow, this one is good. Why I didn't finish? Probably because I didn't find the right dress for it. So I take the sample, you know, on the sound on this one, and I finally could find the right dress, you know, the right drums and stuff. So I'm really happy with the final result. I didn't do that much version. Sorry, I think this is just the V2 or V3, which is good, you know, for. And I've already tested, and it's sounding really good. So I'm really happy with it. Okay, thanks for watching. This is all for now, and make sure to check out my tracks, The Story Continues, Broken Studio, La Tromba, and check out my Facebook with the /DJ Marco Lys, my SoundCloud Marco Lys, and my Twitter DJ Marco Lys. See you next time. Ciao.